Hi, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. Y'all know that we don't normally do it like this. Normally, we would be starting with our music and we'd be having ourselves a good little time before the live stream starts. But we're doing things a little bit differently today because our story is a little different today. I want to shout out to, I see her in the chat, OG Mother Hustler, aka Andrea. She brought me this story. Sometimes you all give me leads on stories and you all say, hey, Ty, cover this, cover that. And sometimes it works out great. Usually it doesn't because it's something that I can't really research. But she brought me a story that touched her heart. It was about a woman who is a 1960s singer who was unfortunately murdered, raped and murdered on New Year's Day, 2018. And the story touched her heart. She let me know that there was something that she could relate to about this woman's work history. And she saw the story on another channel and was touched by the story that she saw. So I started looking it up. And you guys, it was sad because almost every story that I saw was just like one paragraph saying that a 1960s singer had been killed. I didn't know much about her, and I kept looking because my subscriber was very, very passionate about this. And it led me eventually to a journalist by the name of Joseph Fenity, who is here with us today, live from Los Angeles. And I'm so excited to talk to him. He had the most comprehensive story that I saw, not only on her death, but about her life. And he wrote about her story in a way that was so it was so touching that it made me feel like he must have known her in real life. I thought that maybe he was a relative, a nephew or something. And when I got to talk to him, I found out that he wasn't. He was just someone who was as touched by her story as OG Mother Hustler, who is in the chat. So let me go on and just shout out to you. Thank you so much for bringing the story to my attention and for emailing me and letting me know that this was something that you wanted to cover. And you introduced me to someone who is, I mean, I feel like I've met a friend, but someone who's definitely, you know, tied into this story in a way that most journalists have not been. So shout out to you, OG Mother Hustler, for bringing us this story. And I also, before I bring up our guest, who I'm so excited for you all to meet, I want to shout out Taz Exclusives for bringing us his audience from his live stream. And I'm looking for Grown Woman Vibes, aka Nyla, who also was willing to share her audience with us, but we got started so late because we wanted to get everything right for this, because I don't know when I'll get the opportunity to have Joseph with us again. He's a freelance journalist. He has written for some of the biggest publications that you can imagine, and he does a lot of things on his own. I'm looking forward actually to learning a lot from this man, but we're going to go on without any further ado and bring up our special guest, you guys, and he's going to fill us in on this murder and on what hopefully we can do to help get hashtag justice for Betty. And shout out to Grown Women Vibes and the Blue Heart Gang and the Goat Gang. The Blue Heart Gang is Nyla's, they are Nyla's viewers. The Goat Gang, I'm just calling the Goat Gang, is Taz, the exclusive. Taz is the goat of all the historical content. And then shout out, of course, to the Mystorians. Drop your magnifying glasses for me. And give a warm welcome to our special guest, Joseph Fenity. How are you doing on today, Joseph? And thank you so much for being with us.
Well, first off, I feel like a hot mess because the best part about this show, no one got to see it, but it was me and Ty backstage behind the scenes. Nobody got to see our setup. I feel like that would be the best show ever, honestly.
Absolutely.
I feel like I know you at this point. Honestly, if it were not for your viewer, your friend, OG Mother, I don't think that we would, be connecting. She tipped you off to this story about Betty Willis. And if it weren't for her, this, one thing leads to another. Which OG Mother Hustler, that was when I DJ'd. That was my name when I was a DJ.
I had no idea. You
I
never
tell you
told me that.
No. It's another show, but I'll tell you.
Okay, we'll bring you back for another hot mess
part
show.
2. No, but this Betty story, I'm telling you, it's so important. The fact that it got your attention and you wanted to get it out on your channel is just means. I mean, it's awesome. It's awesome that you're getting the word out, Ty.
Thank you so much. And look, the worst part of this is that, well, the worst part of this, of course, is that she is gone. But now that her killer has not been brought to justice, or we'll have to say her alleged killer has not been brought to justice. He's sitting in county jail and has been there for 5 years and has not been prosecuted for this crime. Can you catch us up on why that is? This is so crazy to me.
That's why we're here. So we shouldn't be doing this. Honestly, I shouldn't be here because this occurred 5 years ago. This is a murder that happened out here in Southern California, January 1st, 2018. This is a 76-year-old woman, Betty Willis, who you guys are all going to get to know by the end of the show. Betty Willis was asleep. It's January 1st, so it's going into, I think it was a Monday morning. It was a Monday morning, 3 a.m., and this 22-year-old man rapes and murders the 76-year-old woman, Betty Jane Willis. And this, Ty, as you and I have discussed extensively, and as I reported in my Los Angeles Magazine article, this was a crime that someone heard the commotion. Okay, what do you do when you hear someone crying for help? You get around dialing 911. Police show up. Santa Ana PD. Anyone familiar with Santa Ana, California? Santa Ana PD show up. Police arrive on the scene. They see the incident happening. 2 police eyewitness it. Okay, so they get the bad guy into custody. They look around. Ty, this is caught on camera. Caught on camera. I can't say that enough.
Right.
Caught on video.
Do you mind if I go on and display some of the images as you're talking through?
Yeah, please. Yeah, that's actually right where the incident happened back in 2018. And actually, if you look close enough in the back corner of that, there's one of the 4 cameras. 4 cameras. I said I caught on camera 4 cameras. So, so the point is, why are we here? Well, we shouldn't be here. It's been 5 years. So don't bother getting out your calculator. 5 years since 2018, give or take. Okay, so what this means is if you are caught in the act of a crime like this and it's caught on video and, authorities catch you, you're still going to be fine. You don't have to face charges, I guess. You don't have to face trial, I guess. But I say that's why we're here, Ty, because I think this should be wrapped up by now. And so I'm glad you're bringing attention to Betty's story because it's a bit confusing as to why we're in this situation.
Absolutely. It's very confusing. So I want to start off at the beginning, and I see you all. Thank you. Already have the hashtag Justice for Betty going in the chat.
Good.
And we're going to ask you all to take that out to social media. And I already see that some of you are asking, which DA do we need to contact? We will give you that information. Please, we want to show them that there are people out here who care about her. And we want to see some change. So we want to make it uncomfortable for them. We want them to go in and get this wrapped up.
And if you guys hear from the DA, by the way, let us know because we have trouble reaching the DA. So, if anyone hears anything, let's all make a pact to come back and talk about it because, they don't talk to me. So, keep us posted.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a group effort is what I'm trying to say.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. We need to come together and we'll have to do a follow-up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have to do a follow-up on
There's
this.
Betty. Remember I was telling you earlier, you were making fun. Can we tell him behind the scenes? Ty was making fun of me. She's like, you got a glass for your water that usually should be wine. I said, in that photo of Betty, there's wine in the background. I've looked at this photo long enough. There's Betty.
Yes.
And that's Betty Jane Willis, a soul singer from the 60s, one of the many things that she did in life. And that's her, Ty, that's probably about the end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s right there, maybe even 1980 right there. And that's who we're working to get justice for. And when I say that she's done a lot of things, I'm not just talking about career-wise, because that's not what defines us, She was a mother, which is a job. She was a grandmother, and a person. So that's who we're talking about today.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that touched me about your story was that you wrote about her like she was an actual person and not just a murder victim, not just someone whose case needed to be solved. You wrote in the story that I originally read of yours about a young man who came across Well, he learned that he already knew her, so to speak. He was working with her at the post office. This was after her music career didn't pan out the way that she'd hoped it was. She had a daughter she needed to take care of, and she started working at the post office. And she meets this young guy who collects music. And can you tell us a little bit more about that story?
Yeah, well, you can imagine working at the post office. I mean, if anyone here works at the post office and you feel like sharing, let us know if it's boring or not. But I'm sure certain roles at the Postal Service may be less boring than others. But, you can imagine that, it's a mundane kind of gig when you're, in the building and not out delivering stuff, I guess. And so there's Betty. She's come down from recording for Gold Star Records. Look it up, Gold Star Records back in Hollywood back in the day. That's where Phil Spector was that Betty worked with Leon Russell back in the early 1960s. So, by the time this photo that you guys are looking at right now, by the time this photo is taken, we're at the end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s. And so Betty did kind of, get to the point where it's like, okay, because this music career isn't going the way that I want it to, like Ty, you just pointed out, I do need to get like a day job, a real job. So Betty does get that real job, and it's in the form of working at the post office. And so there's this kid, he's about 18 years old, and he just started at the post office. This is one of the locations down in Santa Ana, California. And he's like, I don't know. Ty, what was your first job, by the way? Just give me some perspective.
Oh gosh, it took a long time for me to get it. But I
Is
was
it
a
this, where we are right
receptionist.
now? Oh, okay.
Yeah, y'all, you're
You were,
about 43 years old. No, I was a receptionist for a construction company. That was my first job.
so, the first jobs aren't always the best. Anyway, so this guy, he's got this gig, and he's kind of a little bit bored, to be honest. And he's trying to like talk to people and talk to coworkers, and kind of, no one's really talking to him. There's get the job done, keep your blinders on. And Betty is around, and he sees her, and he tries to talk to her, but she's got her headphones on because the Walkman just came out. Another thing for everyone to go look up. This is before, what do we have now? Spotify, YouTube,
Yeah,
whatever, iTunes. This is
all
before
digital
all that,
means.
before MP3. Yeah, before Discman. It was Walkman had just come out. So Betty's got her Walkman on, so he's like, okay, she likes music. So he finally, at some point when she has her headphones off, he says, hey, what kind of music do you like? They get into a conversation. Again, it's a boring kind of gig. Like I said, he's kind of just looking for any sort of excitement other than sorting the mail. And so she finally kind of reveals to him a little bit, because he's taken a bit of an interest. Like, please, somebody talk to me. I'm bored as heck. So she says, I used to record music. I actually used to make my own music. I sang on records. He's like, really? What song? What'd you sing on? And she's like, don't worry about it. You wouldn't know it. And he's like, try me. He's like, I'm a music collector. I know a lot of stuff. She's like, no, you wouldn't know my music. That's what Betty tells this guy. You don't even worry about it. So he challenges her. He's like, come on, seriously, name one of your songs. She starts singing this song. It's a song called Act Naturally. She starts singing the song to him. He starts singing along. She's like, wait a minute, hold on. How do you know that song? This little 18-year-old kid, just showing up at your job, and you've been there for a while. It's like, who are you? And how do you know the song I recorded? And he goes, oh my, he said, you're Betty Willis. You're Betty Willis. So those three words right there. Is that three words? Yeah. Those three words right there kind of changed, or kind of changed the rest of these two people's lives, and it began a friendship that wouldn't be over anytime soon. So yeah, basically this guy discovered, hey, I've got a 60s soul singer right here in the back of the post office who's going to be my friend.
Right?
That's how they first met. And I wrote about that in the Los Angeles Magazine article that you're referencing.
Yeah, definitely you did. And for those of you who, I mean, I had not heard of her until Andrea told me about her. And so, of course, I wanted to hear her music, and I was able to find some. But Joseph has put together a list of her music that is on his YouTube channel. But I've also linked that in the description box. So if you're watching now, or if you're catching the replay, you can go in the description box and get that list, and you can hear her music. You can hear her voice, which, I mean, she was an amazing singer. But, it doesn't always work out. That being said, sometimes it does work out. For instance, like with Aretha Franklin. who has a lot of parallels, whose life has a lot of parallels with Betty Jane Willis. And that was something that touched you in a way on a business trip. Will you explain to us that correlation?
Yeah, no, so I've been asked, so not just how'd you find the Betty story or, details about Betty's case, but people also said, why have you chosen this case to get hooked on? Like, why is this such a focus for you? And I guess the simple answer is there's one thing that irritates me the most in life is being ignored. I think we can all relate to being irritated by being ignored, but I don't like seeing people ignored. And I think that that's what had happened throughout most of Betty's life. And so when this death occurred in 2018, this rape and murder in 2018, and I saw from the headlines that she was still kind of being ignored. I mean, I guess I should clarify, if you have headlines, you're not being ignored, but the headlines were very brief. It was just a quick local story. Hey, woman murdered, moving on. Mm-hmm. I thought, there's got to be more here. Who is this woman? It was around that same time, that same year, I was flying to Detroit for the first time. And as I was landing in Detroit, the big news was Aretha Franklin's memorial service. And I had just read Betty's story, just read the headline about Betty. And I'm reading this whole thing. I don't know if you guys remember Aretha's memorial service. Do you remember it went on for a whole bunch of hours? It was on all day. Everyone was there. Everyone was celebrating this life. And so to see every single person there, to see someone who, earns the title Queen of Soul, and someone who gets so much attention, and rightfully so, but there are just as many people who are unlucky, just as great and talented and lucky and awesome as someone like Aretha Franklin was. There are just as many people who don't, for whatever reason or reasons, don't level up to that same moment in life. And so that's when it got my attention, when I was like, wait a minute, here's Aretha, here's Betty. And then, this is what you mentioned, Ty. Then I started diving deep and I was like, well, let's go see what else they had in common. Everything. They were born the same year, died the same year, both 76 years old, same age, both came from the South. Franklin's family went east, Betty's family, the Willis family, went west. 2 years old, both left when they were 2 years old. Both started recording in the 1960s, and back to being ignored. Now, look, I understand there's only one Queen of Soul. There's only one spot at the top but I also understand that we could do better about making sure more people are at least heard. I'm not saying everyone's got to be number one, but I'm saying that everyone does deserve to be heard. So that's where I came from. I was like, wait a minute, I don't think we're paying enough attention to this life and this talent and this death too.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad that it touched you in that way, because her story deserves to be heard. You called your story Killing Betty Willis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And why did you decide to name it that?
That's a really good question. So, as writers, we don't often get to come up with our own titles, believe it or not. When we write our own, the article's all ours, but the one thing that we don't have a whole lot of say over is the title. But that's something that I needed. In this particular story, which people can find at josephfenity.com/Betty. But you go there and you can link up to the LA Magazine article. And the reason I needed to call it Killing Betty Willis is because that's what I feel like. I don't think it just happens one time. And what I mean by that is that it seems like that's what's still happening, and we'll get to it, but there's a lack of justice here. And that's why I'm on this story, because yeah, you can be physically killed one time. Yes, we're all, even you, Ty, even me, we're all going to die. But you only physically die once. But if there's no respect, RESPECT, that one. If there's no respect, if there's no justice, if there's no respect to your legacy, and there are people on this earth right now alive who have the ability, and it is in fact their job to give your legacy respect and to provide your life and your death justice, and they're not doing it, I felt like that's where we're still killing Betty Willis. So I'm glad you asked that, because again, the killing did occur, January 1st, 2018, but here we are in 2023, And until, we get to that trial, which we'll get to in a minute, but until we get to that trial, the killing is still happening in my mind. So that's why I went with that title.
I love that. And I can tell just from the way that you wrote it that you were into this. Like I don't know you, but I was just like, whoever wrote this, like they really poured their heart and soul into this piece. And I appreciated seeing it because, like I said, I had searched other stories, and like you mentioned, there were, headlines, that all were basically the same: 60 soul singer killed.
Yeah.
And the stories were not much bigger than the headlines. The stories
That's right.
themselves were maybe 4 sentences, and I'm not exaggerating by any means. And so I was stunned to see all of what you were able to put into this story, like I said, about her life, but also about her physical death. And so I would like for you to go into that, so that we can help us make sense of why this man has not been prosecuted. Please, can you give us some details?
Well, thanks for saying that about the story. It was a long story, and I'm glad you noticed that, and I'm glad you said that, and I appreciate that. By the end of the story, once I put that last period on that last sentence, Betty had become a friend. I've gotten to know her daughter a little bit, and her daughter said something very similar to what you just said, and she was really pleased with the way that the story turned out, at least my story that I wrote, not necessarily Betty's story. That's an ending. I wish I could have written a happier ending. But by the way, I just want to add one thing. I don't know if anyone wants to put in the comments their favorite singer, but I think your favorite song or your favorite singer, the thing about music, by the way, I just want to add here, Ty, is that these songs and these people who sing these songs, like they're kind of with us as friends, maybe even more loyal than friends, to be quite honest with you,
Yeah.
But they're there at our weddings, even if you have more than one. They're there at your funerals. They're your first dance, whether it was Boys to Men or what, I mean, whatever. Now I'm giving away my age, but whatever, they become your companions, right? So it becomes personal. A singer-songwriter friend of mine in New York, I said, why do I care so much about some of the stuff? And it's like, because these aren't just singers, they're your friends. In your head, they're your friends.
Yeah.
So, I guess I'll tell you about, should we go into the suspect, I think? Or what?
Why not?
Yeah, let's just go there. There he is. You're looking right now at the only photo that we have of this guy. This is Resindo Peck. Resindo Peck was 22 at the time of the rape and murder of Betty Willis. He's the one who's allegedly caught in the act. You've heard the saying, caught with your pants down. He quite literally was caught with his pants down by Santa Ana police. This guy, we don't know much. And I should point out that we've asked, and by we, I mean local media in Southern California, throughout Orange County, Los Angeles. And we know very little about this guy. We know that he came to the United States from Guatemala. He immigrated through Texas, somehow eventually kind of landed in Southern California. And but we don't know. This guy has a very unclear background. We just don't know a whole lot, and no one's telling me or anyone a whole lot. And again, we've reached a point, this has been 5 years since the murder, you guys, so no one's really pressing, no one's really asking. It's just Joseph Fenity, me. I come up on their caller ID every now and then, and it's not like anyone's pushing for the information. So we don't know a whole lot. We do know that part of the reason for the delay, and in fact, one of the significant reasons that we've been told for the delay in justice for Betty Willis is a language barrier. This gentleman that you're looking at right here has said, or his representatives have said, that he does not speak English. He does not speak Spanish. He speaks, Ty, you and I have talked about this. Did you figure out how to say the language yet? The ancient Mayan language?
No.
I haven't either, but I believe... And
looks like
put it
Kachike to me, but
Kachike.
Kachike.
Yeah, somewhere between what you said and what I just said is the name of this ancient Mayan language that this guy you're looking at claims that he needs to have this interpreter flown in, understandably, when we don't, totally understood. But he needs this interpreter flown in who speaks this Quechua. Someone's going to tell me. I hope someone posts up a YouTube video and says, this is how you actually say it so we know. Yeah. But anyway, the delays are a bit of a head scratcher because this guy that you're looking at, the man alleged to have raped and killed 76-year-old Betty Willis, on the police report, it shows that, police have said that he was interrogated for almost 45 minutes. And the police officer that was responsible for this police department interview, who spoke with this gentleman that you're looking at, he spoke entirely in Spanish to him. So if he spoke to him in Spanish for 40 something minutes, you know where this is going. Like, it's a little bit confusing that, how long could you and I talk here, Ty, if we didn't speak the same language? I mean, it would be over
Not very long.
Not this long.
I would say within a few seconds, we would know that we couldn't communicate with each other.
And we would probably try a little bit longer, maybe do some sign language, or you'd draw pictures I don't know. We'd do something to try and communicate, and it would still be over within about 2 minutes. Like, okay, this isn't work. You don't understand me. I don't understand you. This interview lasted almost 45 minutes. So now you've got someone who's saying that I don't understand. I need someone flown in to speak this language. Now, the second question is, okay, why don't we fly someone in to speak this language? That's another great question. Yeah. So this happened in 2018. COVID didn't show up on our doorstep till what? Early 2020-ish here in the United States. Okay. So there's that COVID excuse, right? So, okay, that gives us 6, 12 months, whatever, count the months. Everyone's got their own time with COVID. Then we're up to like 2021. Okay. Now where's the interpreter? So that's the latest delay. They say, look, this guy does not speak anything that any of our interpreters here on site in-house can interpret and translate. We have to fly in a specialist from out of state. We're having scheduling difficulties 5 years later. That's where we are.
5 years later.
5 years later. That's how long it took me to get through high school.
5 years? Only 5?
I'm telling you. There's a lot. And I felt like I didn't speak anything anyone spoke. I know the feeling of what's going on here. But this is why the case is so irritating, because all we've got here is something that I'm not a legal expert, but I am like a BS expert. And I think most people can tell when it's like, when you're getting the runaround, and I think that's where we are at this point, personally.
Absolutely. Now I know you've been able to have some communications with the DA's office. Were you able to find out anything as far as this language barrier was concerned? Has anyone been able to tell you anything that makes sense about that 45-minute interrogation/interview and why there's just no one who can speak to him now?
Well, that's the other, there's a language barrier purportedly between the suspect and law enforcement and the suspect and the court system. There's a communication barrier between me and the Orange County District Attorney's Office. We're all speaking the same language, but, I'm doing a lot more of the speaking and they're not saying much. So, what was the question? Sorry. Just thinking about, Yeah, exactly. Has anyone, though, been able to tell you anything that makes sense as far as this whole language barrier is concerned? Why can't we put him on trial, but we can have someone to interview him for 45 minutes? Right. Here you and I are speaking remotely across 2 time zones. You're not in my state, I'm not in your state. We have this, we don't even work at the DA's office or a court, but we figured out how to get our laptops hooked up, and like you dialed me and now we talk. Like, I don't understand. I believe that there are I'm sure there are a few legit excuses for some valid reasons for some of this delay, but here you and I are on YouTube on Hot Mess History trying to figure this out. This is not our job. You and I and everyone else this Sunday night as we are live, they shouldn't be here like trying to go over this. You and I are trying to be like true crime detectives tonight. This is not, we don't work here. This is not our job. So I guess I'm getting a little frustrated by the there's really been a lack of communication from Orange County and the district attorney's office. It's really been like, the case is pending. We can't talk about it. The case, don't worry, it's a priority. We'll get to it when we get to it. So, no answer. I'd love an answer.
Of course.
I think Betty's family would love and deserve an answer.
They definitely deserve an answer. And we're going to give you all some information because we all want some answers. And I appreciate the concern that I am seeing for Betty in the chat. And Joseph, everyone is thanking you for being here and sharing what you have, the information that you have with us. So we're going to give you all the information so that you all can reach out to the DA. I have tried unsuccessfully to reach out. And maybe if we just keep asking, keep pressing, keep making it a little uncomfortable, keep clogging the phone lines and the email inboxes, maybe something will finally happen. But we're going to share that information in a little bit. Are there any other? Oh, go ahead.
Ty, I just want to add there because what you just said, Ty, reminds me of, as a freelance journalist, so much of the work is done remotely. Some of the time we don't always have to show up. If it's not an active scene, if it's not an active situation, if it's not a live event, research can be done remotely. This was a story that when I set out to do this Los Angeles Magazine article, I thought that I was going to be able to do this from my pajamas on my laptop, at home, watching whatever, Bad Girls Club. What was it that you used to watch back in the day? Is that what you used to watch?
I told you that.
You can tell what I see
this,
but
tell everybody.
Yeah. All right.
I told you
anyway.
that was my secret.
Well, somebody told me. I don't know. I read it somewhere. But no, she's gonna be mad at me now. But in all seriousness, I truly thought that I was going to be able to just kind of do this like so many of my other stories, where I just do the research, get it done, and get it out there. And gosh, by the time I finally get the story out there, I'm sure that it's going to be an old story because the guy's going to be behind bars. Not the case. The case is actually that I wasn't getting responses from the district attorney's office, which is the main entity that I needed answers from. Emails aren't being responded to, phone calls are being ignored, and there we get back to that word again, right? Remember that keyword tonight, guys? Ignored. Yeah. So now I'm kind of, first time I begin this truly professionally, I'm reporting on Betty's behalf. I want to tell her story, her legacy, the life and the soul of Betty Willis. I want to tell it all. Now I've gone from reporting on Betty's behalf to being pissed on Betty's behalf, and it was like, wait a minute. Okay, so this is just all about like ignoring the whole thing. Maybe it'll go away, I guess. So I head down. I'm in Los Angeles. I head down to Santa Ana, which is not across the street. Mm-hmm. So I go there and I show up to the DA's office and I thought, okay, well, once they see me and they see that I'm serious and that I'm really like, I was serious when I said I'd like an answer. Could you give me a comment? I just figured like they'd be, oh, you're the one who, okay, sure. Yeah. So anyway, here's the update. Here's the case file. Here's whatever you need. That way you can update your readers and get some justice for Betty in whatever way you need to do that. So that's not what happened. You know, like when you show up to someone's house, like you thought that you had planned dinner, you thought I said, Ty, I'll be over Sunday night, whatever. And then like I ring the doorbell and you open the door and you're in your PJs and not ready. Mm-hmm. That's kind of,
yeah.
I show up there, I'm like, is it, remember I was the one who tried, and again, no answers, very little information. We look up the case number, we're scrolling through the computer. I'm seeing on their screen the information I already have. It's like, can you please tell me where we are in this case? It's like, it's a number one priority for us. Really? Yeah. Just like all of our cases, a number one priority. Alrighty, keep me posted. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's insane. I want to get to this comment though. I think it's interesting because you did mention, that you kind of thought that this would be basically an open shut case, and he'd be behind bars and that would be it. And he is behind bars. However, he's in county jail, not in prison, where I'm sure that you suspect life is a bit easier in county jail than it would be in prison. So yes, he is still locked away. Lavalley pictures, but not probably the locked away that I would say he deserves for the crime that was committed, and for sure what the family would like to see happen.
That's a
Can
really
you?
good question.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad that she brought that up, because that's a really good point that I think we failed to make clear early on. One, yes, police arrested this guy on site. Remember, they showed up a few minutes later. They witnessed him, right? So they're like, okay, you're being arrested because we see something's going down here. By the way, if you look, I was just telling you, Ty, this off the air. If you look at this Resindo Peck right there at the mugshot, you look at the side of his head right there. There's an abrasion. Maybe that was the word I was looking for earlier. Remember when I couldn't figure out the word?
Yes, abrasion.
Yeah, maybe that. Who knows? There's this spot on his head there. That was where the police took him down. So really, if you're trying to figure out who didn't do their job here, the police tackled this guy, at least one of them tackled this guy to the ground. He's trying to get away, pulling his pants up after this alleged rape and murder, hiding behind this spot where this occurred, and a concrete column, trying to climb over this fence, trying to get away. And they tackle him to the ground. That's where you see that damage right there. They take him to custody, which is where he remains in custody. But this is, when you're in custody for a crime like this, this is a pending thing. This has not been adjudicated. This has not gone to the courts yet. It's gone to the court. It hasn't gone to trial yet. So, this is where a legal expert needs to come in and tell us what's going on here. Like, I assume, and anyone who knows different, please tell us, but I assume that this guy has it a little bit better in local county jail than he is going to have as a certified, confirmed, verified, blocked and reported murderer, if that, you know what I mean? So, he's still in this pending status. So I don't know if that changes, from better food to better visiting rights to more access to free time with an attorney, or, once a verdict comes in, and if he's found to be guilty and sent to prison for the rest of his life, if that's what occurs, he's not going to have the same, lifestyle. So something's up.
Yeah, for sure.
That was a good question, though.
Are there any other details that you want to share with us about the actual crime itself? Anything else that you know?
Well, there's where it happened. What you have up there, Ty. This is outside of a fabric store in Santa Ana, California, and I think it's disturbing. Again, if you go to josephenity.com/Betty, that's my website where I've, again, was not my plan to have to kind of put up a whole page dedicated to Betty, but I had no choice, because it's like this story is not resolved. But if you go there and you read the LA Magazine story, you're going to find some detail that's disturbing. I'm sure that we're all already disturbed. I keep looking at that spot right there where it happened, right beyond those plants. You guys see those potted plants and those kind of, flowery cactus, whatever, right beyond there is where it happened. And that half wall, you see that half wall there, kind of fence looking thing, that's where the suspect attempted to climb over, get over to the other side of the wall, and get away. And he wasn't able to. I told you he was pulling up his pants behind one of these columns. Those are the 3 columns that he was pulling his pants up behind. So again, if we're not already disturbed enough, it's disturbing because I go into detail about what occurred. But you've got Betty. This is about 3 a.m. or so, and this is a 76-year-old woman. Betty's asleep at the time, and the rest is, I guess, on camera. But this is in the next few minutes, which would turn out to be the last few minutes of Betty Willis's life. The first few minutes of 2018, the new year, a rape and murder is what's alleged to have occurred. So what's interesting to me, though, Ty, and I don't know if you and I have talked about this before, because I know we did a little pre-research before I came on, but I don't know if I've mentioned this to you, but what was interesting to me is the one thing that stood out was Betty cried out for help. That's the only way I think we're here, to be honest with you guys. When Betty cried out for help, now it couldn't stop her killing, unfortunately. But what it did do is it got someone, multiple people actually, to call 911 emergency dispatch and say, hey, something is going down right now, and we need someone to figure out what's going down. So why is that interesting to me? Because it was Betty's voice that wasn't heard the first time around, right? Back in the early 60s, back when she was singing all those great songs, her voice wasn't heard the first time around. Now, this last time around, it's Betty's. Go listen to her music. It's a scream, it was her voice that carried her to the end, and may have been what caught her killer. Betty's voice caught her killer is what stands out to me from the crime.
That is amazing. It's chilling, actually. It's sad.
I know.
Every bit of it is sad.
But you know what will make you happy, though, at least for a second, is hearing her music. And like you said, there's that link where I put that music. I mean, that's something that will not ruin your Sunday evening. That's something that will lift up your Sunday morning. She had this really cool voice, and she knew how to use it. And if you want something to listen to tonight, go listen to Act Naturally, a song that Betty did. Gone with the Wind is My Love. Someday You'll Need My Love. What else did she do? But go look those up. I've got them on my YouTube, which is not nearly as popular as the Hot Mess YouTube, but my YouTube is a hot mess, but it's not, the good kind that you have here. But
you have other things, that are very
other
very
musicians other musicians that I love. And Betty's just the latest of someone who, was a talented woman, and a singer, a mother, a grandmother. And I think if anyone wants to be lifted up, just go read the story and the end of it, and go listen to her music, because that's the only way to kind of keep her voice going.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that. And I know I have a few moderators in the stream. If you don't mind, check the description box, and if you'll share some of these links that we're getting ready to go into, and even like the link to Joseph's YouTube that has her music and his website. I don't have the hashtag. I don't have the addition of Betty, but josephnetty.com is where you can go to see everything that he has regarding Miss Betty, but also his own ventures that he has as well. And so thank you. Carla says, got her in my search box right now. And you won't be disappointed, Carla. No, you will not.
Yeah.
And so, this is absolutely horrible. I want to go through some of the slides that you've given me and see if there's anything else that we need to discuss. Now, this is the DA's office.
That's where I showed up. Look, can you imagine what I looked like, you guys, when I took that photo? I'm going like the. But the reason I took this photo of the administrative complex where I went to go see the DA on the whatever high up floor, I took this because, it's like, how do you get to these people when like they work for you, right? They work for both of us. They work for all of us. And it's like, here I am kind of down on street level, and street level Santa Ana looks nothing like this. And it just got my attention that, okay, when you're trying to get justice, if justice is that far away and behind that gate and up in that fancy office, how are you ever going to get there? Yeah. Right. Thanks for giving me chills with my own picture, my own story. Yeah.
Listen,
up in the trees.
I am an admirer of good writing, and your writing was excellent. That's, in addition to, just the request from Andrea asking me to cover this woman who I'd never heard of, but it's like, my God, why haven't I heard of her?
Right.
Again, your story just drew me in, and your writing is excellent. So I can understand how your own words, would blow you away. And and
you look at this though. Look at this. I'm up on one of those floors trying to get answers, and I'm looking out, and the view is beautiful. I was in this corner office, and it was like wall to wall, looking out of this beautiful Orange County, and it's like, I don't know. I was just thinking of all of our different paths that we take, and all of us. I was back to the Aretha thing. Remember what I was talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Some of us soar to the stars, and others don't get to. And I was like, there was such a disconnect. That's it. It was just such a disconnect from where much of our life is, where we are, right? And where whoever they is in life. It's like, okay, how do I get, I was literally up in the clouds. It gets so foggy here. It's like up in the trees going, okay, are they ever going to get to this case that was down here, street level, reality level? This is Betty, not that long ago, you guys. This is Betty as a grandmother, and she is, I'm going to give an approximate, this is like 2016-ish, this is 2017-ish, this is just a few years before Betty's death, and this is provided by Betty's family. And that's the woman. That's the reason that we're here talking right now. That's the reason Ty's brought me on. A soul singer, a mother, a grandmother, and she should still be here. So and what's the name of the viewer, Ty? That
Andrea, but
Andrea.
This is her. This is her.
Yep. Andrea, thanks to what Andrea did is she saw this story on another YouTube channel, went to Ty. I just want to remind you guys, because it all matters. Went to Ty and said, Ty, I think you should cover this. And Ty emailed me, and it took a little while, but now I'm here. So what is that saying? If you see something, say something. I'm just glad that Andrea did that, because here we are, and it's moments like this where the pressure does. Sometimes you do have to hashtag stuff. Sometimes you do have to, like, okay, let me get a marker, write on a sign, and go. A perfect world, we wouldn't be here, right? But sometimes you got to make a little noise to be heard. And that's where we are. And
you can mention the other channel. I believe it is called True Crime Daily.
That's right.
I'm not one of those shady YouTubers who pretends that my channel is the only one that exists.
Good.
So
good.
I'm not. And
right.
I appreciate the courtesy, though.
Yes.
But I went and I watched that interview, so I won't pretend like, we're the only ones doing that over here. No, that's not who I
when
am.
True Crime Daily did that and you watched it, what was cool is I love that you came to me and you're like, hey, here's my channel, here's what I do. And you said, if we bring you on, Joseph, it's going to break the format a little bit. It's not exactly what we always do, but Betty's worth it. And I typed back and I was like, I absolutely agree. There she is. I love this photo. There's Betty Willis right now, you guys. I said, whatever we can do, because at some point it's not supposed to be personal, but I think it gets there. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, there should be a distance between a storyteller and the story that they tell. There should be some type of space. But with every month that goes by that I know about this and it's on my heart, that space between, me and the story becomes less and less. So I'm just glad you're doing this, because Betty's story deserves to be told. Caught on video. Look at that. What's the problem?
Video, you guys. That to me is the most. I don't know. Maybe the most upsetting part about this is, everything seems to be there. The evidence seems to be there. And so now we have this issue, this language barrier, and that's what's holding this thing up from just, ending, or at least bringing some closure to the family members who are there, and all these people who have come to care. This was caught on video, and like you said, this was at the this happened at the La Amiga fabric store in Santa Ana, and the owner there had basically a working relationship with her because Betty did not have a home.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a place where she felt that she could sleep safely because of these very cameras, right?
This is, and you and I have talked about this, Ty, but I'll repeat it. This is also what got my attention. Was the headline started out when this first broke for half a second and then we all moved on. It was homeless woman murdered. There's always more to the story. There's always more to the story. Nobody is just this or that, or there's always more to the story. And that's why I kept digging, because I thought we have to figure out who this person is. Everyone's got a story. Everyone's got a past. Everybody matters. Every part of our history matters. And so it was a working relationship, though. Betty specifically picked this spot to hang out at because it was well lit. You know, it was a place where she felt safe. You know, she was honestly, look, backed into the corner most of the time is a good thing, right? You got your back against the wall. Right. So Betty was very strategic, for lack of a better word. She said, look, if Betty knew she was unhoused, Betty knew she didn't want to, I think she'd been through enough in life where one more contract or one more agreement or one more lease, it's like, I'm not signing anything. You know, sometimes, I mean, have you ever been at that point in your life? I have.
Breaking point. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like, I don't trust you. Some days you just can't trust. And sometimes you've been through enough in life where, you know, it's just like, I'm sorry, but I don't, you know, you just have to go your own way, whatever that way is. It's not for, and anyone listening who has just learned in the past 2 minutes that Betty Willis was homeless, if you're thinking to yourself, well, I just don't understand it, that's okay. It's not for you to understand. It may not be anything that you need to comprehend. That's not the point of the story. The point of the story is that a grandma was raped and murdered. And the guy that we believe is responsible for this crime has been in custody for 5 years without a trial. Why does that matter? Well, Betty needs justice. Why does that matter? Well, the suspect, is due a speedy trial, right? He has rights. She has rights. Betty and her family deserve justice, and the guy charged with the murder deserves a trial, right? You can't just like lock someone up and not give them a trial. So I'll be interested to see how the DA, if the DA ever reacts to any of this hot mess, because that's exactly what it is. But unfortunately, it's not history. It's actively happening. But yeah, that's right where it occurred, right there.
This is horrible. But like there are some good things, and you know, one good thing is that there are people who are trying to get her story out.
That's right.
And I'm hoping that that brings about some change. And so I guess that being said, we can share the information that we have on, you know, how to reach out, what to do, because we all want to help.
Sure.
When you hear a story like this, if you're human, you kind of can't help but want to help. So we are asking, and this is Joseph's idea, to get the hashtag Justice for Betty trending on social media. If you're going to talk about this story, again, mention wherever you've heard it. Mention Joseph's story. Mention True Crime Daily. Mention my channel. It's not about me. It's not about Joseph. It's about Betty. So if you believe that, you know, mentioning the other channel, mentioning True Crime Daily, which is a much larger channel than mine, is going to help to bring attention to it, go for it. It's not about me. So wherever you can get this going, get this going. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted to add to that. Beautifully said. Plus, it's our new saying. Beautifully said. Plus, I just want to add to that. I guess the simplest way to put it is it didn't have to be this way. I don't know if you want to flip to a picture of Betty, and that gold dress looks so pretty. But one of the pictures of Betty, or that wine one that we have, but it didn't have to be this way on so many levels, including where we're at right now. So we have this hashtag up. Somebody asked me like 2 years ago, they're like, why don't you do a hashtag? I said, that's not necessary. We're going to get a story out there. And we're going to get the word out about Betty Jane Willis. We've reached a point where, I mean, somebody said, well, should we give out the phone number for the DA's office? 2 years ago, I can't believe I've been working on this 2 years, but I said, I don't know if that's, I mean, why? Well, guess what?
Right.
Now we're here. There's the phone number right there on your screen. You know the hashtag, Justice for Betty. You know what to do.
But I can understand how you would feel. Why would we need to do all that?
I just thought one thing will lead to another.
We've got it on camera. We've got the guy behind bars. This will go away in a matter of weeks. This will, they'll take it to trial and we'll be on to the next thing. Of
That's
course
right.
you would feel that way. Of
Yeah.
course.
Right. Right. What seems to be the problem? Where, how long could it take? Well, stay tuned. We're still in it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So the phone number is on the screen. Orange County DA's office, 714-834-3952, just in case you are driving and listening and you don't know what we are flashing and you want to roll back the playback and get this number, 714-834-3952, to call. Call and look, you guys, we can't guarantee that, you know, it's going to
Anything?
make anything happen.
Yeah. Yeah. We can't guarantee
But my hope is just that enough of us will call that they'll get tired of the calls and say, we got to go in and get this done. Let's do whatever we need to do to give this guy the trial that he deserves and put him away.
Yeah.
That's
And tell them we
hope.
sent you. Tell them we sent you. Say Joseph Fenity said, Ty said, Hot Mess History, True Crime Daily, LA Matt, whatever. These people work for us. And that is a public phone line. And that's like Ty's saying, like, this is just the next step now that we're at this escalated kind of level. But yeah, if they ask who sent you, tell them Joseph Fenity. They have my number. They know where to reach me.
Absolutely. And you can also, in addition to going to Joseph's website to learn about himself or learn about the Betty story, he has created a link that will get you straight to the DA's email. He's made it very simple. He's kind of a one-stop shop for all things Betty. Actually, it sounds weird, but that is like literally what happens. And that's how I was able to get in touch with him so easily after I saw his name and I looked him up. I was like, okay, he's got a website, so let me go here. And I was able to message him directly on his website. And you guys, I couldn't believe it. And he knows it because, look, I consider I'm just this, YouTuber over here. This is a, bona fide journalist. Is he going to care? But I was up working late after I had received Andrea's message. And so I'm like, let me see if I can find anything. I don't know if there is a story. Like, I can't, make this one paragraph that everyone is printing into a story. And then when I come across a story, it's like, let me reach out to Joseph Fenity. I've never tried. Let me try. And I woke up the following morning. I stayed up working until about around midnight, around 11:30 that night. And the last thing that I did was emailed Joseph. And then I wake up the next morning. To my surprise, I had a reply that came through about 4:30 that morning. I emailed him about this story, of course, and he emailed me. I'm imagining as soon as he saw it, I don't know if you were up late partying or waking up early. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, whoa, and so I emailed Andrea to let her know, hey, we are going to be able to do something because this guy is responding. And so I'm
so glad you did. Yeah. I'm so glad you did. I love how you also say, my channel's not much. And it's like, okay, 100,000 subscribers. Who else do you know? Okay, yeah, please.
Well,
and what you do, honestly. Well, it's, oh, that's the other thing. This shouldn't even be true. That's the other thing I forgot to mention. I was like, shouldn't be a hashtag. Somebody came up to me and they're like, oh, is this a true crime story? And I'm like, oh gosh, I guess it does fall under that. It's like, we're just at this point where it's like whatever we need to get this moving. So when you emailed me and I was out partying or doing whatever the hell I was doing at 2:30 a.m. and I got back to you, I was so thrilled because everything matters and helps. And the fact that, what you do digging through the old Jet magazines and finding all these old things that we didn't even know existed. And you're doing such good public service and such good work. It's not just entertainment. I know we come here and we get entertained with you, but it's also like I close out the YouTube and I've learned something that I didn't know before. So that's what you're doing tonight. So what you're doing for Betty and just to spotlight her, this is what she deserves. So when you messaged me, I was like, there's no question we're going to work this. It took us a little while, but not 5 years though.
Right. And we did it within the time frame that you estimated. You said spring.
Okay. Oh,
you did say early spring.
That was not even spring yet. It's barely spring. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we
So
didn't do as bad as I thought then. Okay.
yeah, we did very well. We did very
Hashtag and
well.
everything. Look, and we even got this website up where if you guys, these government websites are always so long, they get slash this and all that stuff.
Hmm.
So this makes it easy. You go to the website that's on your screen that will automatically reroute you to the web form where you can, not everyone's a phone. I don't think any of us are phone people anymore, but if you're not comfortable calling, not comfortable leaving a message, not comfortable, if you're more comfortable typing it in, you can do it right there. It routes you directly. So we're trying to make this, Ty and I have, again, what seems to be the problem. I'm doing everything that I can, and I hope you guys, this is the way I do it, writing a story, working as a journalist, I guess an advocate journalist at this point. But whatever it is that you do in your world, even if it means going to work tomorrow at 6 a.m. and by 6:30, you've told a few coworkers. If that's whatever you do, that's your thing. If it means journaling about it, then telling someone at a family reunion, whatever you do, mention Betty's name Monday morning.
That's beautiful. I like that. And when you are at work, how you put in those good 3 hours and then you're like, it's social media time.
That's Betty time. Yeah, 3 hours in.
Yeah,
Betty
before
time.
you get onto your own social media, because I know that was my plan. That was
Yeah.
People are like, that's why she doesn't have a job now. No, that was my plan. So before you log on to your own Facebook to check out your friends, also you can check out facebook.com/Betty Jane Willis. Joseph has put together a group. Which I have liked. I had to log into my Facebook so that I can join. He is the first member of the group. But that's
tonight, you guys are the first hearing about it. We just put this up. Yeah.
Yeah, literally. So he has put everything together. He says that we are trying to make it easy. I'm sharing the information that he has already put together. When I tell you he's a one-stop shop for all things Betty Jane Willis. So I'm just literally, I'm a vessel to share what he's already put together. So work with him, work with us, and hopefully we can come back and do an update story to say that we actually had a trial and this is what he was sentenced to. And the family is so relieved. Like, I would love for us to be able to do that stream this year,
Right.
How wonderful will that be?
Yeah.
But I know that it will help if you all will help us. Just make that phone call. And if you're not the person who wants to be on the phone, some people think it's intimidating or they get nervous, when the other person picks up the line, send that email. Send out those hashtags on social media. You can visit this Facebook group where I'm sure there are going to be some more updates there as well. And if you just want to, again, follow the things that Joseph is doing in his career, facebook.com/Fenity. My moderators, will you please go to the description box and get these hashtags, or if you can just copy and drop them in the chat. Just, again, anything to make it easier. Thank you so much. Grown Woman Vibes is dropping links right now. Anything to make it easier. So you all who are already in here, just go and grab those links and you can start going to those places, visiting now, josephfinity.com as well. Joseph, can you tell us, we know that you have Betty Jane covered. What else can you tell us about yourself and what you do professionally?
I can tell you that I think Betty is with us because something just happened. I don't know if anyone saw my light go out for a minute, but this light bulb just burst. So I don't know if that's a really good sign or a really bad sign, but something just, I've never had a light bulb. If you saw it, rewind back, you'll see about 2 minutes ago, pop. So I believe in signs, even have to look for them. That was a bright sign. You can find me at all the socials except for TikTok. I'm not dancing on TikTok yet, but I will. I'll make Orange County a deal. Here's the deal: if they get justice for Betty, I'll go dance on TikTok. I'll get everyone to dance on TikTok. We'll be happy to get justice. But I'm over at my website is josephfinity, FENITY.com. If you're listening, it's FENITY. I'm at facebook.com/Fenity. I'm at Fenity on Twitter. And the other stuff I'm working on is the same thing. I like untold stories. I think everyone's story deserves to be told. Everyone's voice deserves to be heard. I don't like the stories other people have told just because they've been told. I like to go find the untold stories, and that's what I'm working on right now. A few other women who have been under the radar and should be flying high and be talked about and their stories told. So that's what I'm working on right now. And if you guys want to follow that, that'd be great too. 1, justice for Betty. 2, let's keep telling more untold stories. That's the goal. Do you want me to tell them about that Betty has connected me with a few people along the way?
I would love to tell you that. I have another photo that you
Oh,
gave me that I want to share. And I want to just shout out to Nicole, who said that she just joined the FB group. And she said that it was easy to join, just a click. So thank you for that. We appreciate that.
that's awesome. Good, good. And we just set that up tonight. This is a photo, by the way. This gentleman in the middle, his name is Jackie Avery. Jackie Avery Sr. Look him up. Do your research. Jackie Avery Sr., an untold legend right there. He wrote and produced some of Betty's music, and I had the pleasure and honor of meeting him not long ago. Why? Because essentially Betty introduced us at this point. But that's Jackie Avery Sr. And to facilitate the interview, his son, which is why we brought this picture up, and I'm so glad Ty let me bring it up. Jackie Avery Jr., 52 years old. He passed away just last month. 52 years old, this gentleman on the far left or far edge of your screen. And Jackie Avery Jr. right there. It's proof that people can walk into your life. You know those people that you meet for just a minute?
Yeah.
And Jackie Avery Jr. right there, Ty. I met him for just a minute. It's just, he was so nice. And he facilitated this interview with his father, this legendary record producer and writer and artist, Jackie Avery Sr. And, it was just a quick, half-hour thing. And Jackie Jr. was so awesome and so nice. And so he said to me, because this involved travel, this is out of state. And he said to me, Joseph, this junior guy here, he said, Joseph, if you're ever back in town, you need to come visit. You are welcome back. I want you to come back with an update or not. Come see us again. We'll see him again. But thanks to Betty, I met some cool people along the way. And Jack Avery Sr. is still kicking. He's still there. He's still with us. And but these are just two of the many people I met along the way, just telling Betty's story. So you want to see the good in this. The good is that, beyond Betty has been connecting people in this world. And you're looking at three of them right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And thank you, Ty, because what you've done here, you just told a few more people in this world about Betty Jane Willis, and you've done it so well. And I'm so appreciative of you.
I could not have done
Betty's
this
story.
without you. And I thank you. I see so many chats. Just Joseph, thank you for telling her story. Joseph, thank you for being here. Joseph, thank you. Yeah. So we appreciate you. We do. We do. And I don't know if Andrea's still here. I know that when I told her we were doing this, I think that, I don't know if she was working or traveling or something, but she said that she was going to try to make it a point to be here. Then, of course, we were running late because we wanted to get everything
Because we are
down.
a hot mess. We are.
We are. We're trying not to look like it when we go
Right.
on camera.
Right. But the pre-show footage is phenomenal. As we should release it someday. It's so good.
Yeah, we'll put that on Patreon. You're gonna have to
Right.
pay for that.
Yeah. Behind the scenes. Right.
No, I appreciate you so much. Do you have anything else that you want to share before you get out of here? I think that I've gone through all the slides. I think I've gone through everything.
Like you're joking around earlier that I was bossing you around. I think I'll boss you around one last time and say, put up that picture of Betty in that gold dress, because there are, that's how that's someone I wish I would have met. And I think through my reporting and through my Los Angeles Magazine article and through Ty tonight on Hot Mess History, we've met as much as we can on this earth. Yeah. We've met this woman, Betty Jane Willis. And so I have, believe it or not, and I know this is going to shock Ty because she and I have had some really fun phone calls, but I have nothing left to say. She won't believe that. But no, I do. I'm just grateful that we're talking about Betty. Okay, I do have one last thing I want to say. I knew I was lying. Last thing I'll say is that when I talked to Betty's friend at the fabric store, where the crime occurred, where Betty's last night and last morning occurred, he said to me, I said at the very end of our conversation, I walked away and I said, by the way, I know I just caught you off guard here at your business, and I know I'm bringing up someone who you miss and who's tragically gone. And I said, I just want to say thank you for talking to me about her. And he said, Joseph, I'm so appreciative of you asking about her, because the only time someone dies is when they're no longer talked about. Wow. So if we keep talking about Betty, we keep her in our life and in our world. So let's get her justice. It's our job. She deserves it. And start your Monday morning telling Betty's story. And thank you, Ty. Without you and your listener, bring it to our attention, we wouldn't be, exposing this hot mess. But it's a hot mess. Let's get it squared away. And I think we can.
It is a hot mess, and I listen. He knows because we have had. It doesn't, it hasn't even been a lot of conversations. It's been a few very long conversations, and so it feels like we've talked, several times. We've messaged each other a lot, emailed, and all that stuff. But I appreciate this. I really appreciate you for bringing this to my platform. After my email became late in the night,
That's
and
right.
I was so excited to see your email early the following morning.
We're going to make this hot mess history. Make this hot mess history. Make it
history.
Yes. And I will come back. I will gladly come back with an update. If I'm live from the courtroom, I'll do it, but I will come back to you, Ty, and I hope I come back with some good news for the memory of Betty Willis.
I hope so too. And you're going to have to come back to talk about something else too. We're going to have to have a little bit of fun, just a little hot mess fun.
This isn't the end. This is not the beginning. This is only part of it. Yeah, absolutely. I will look, when I heard it was called Hot Mess History, I thought, I can identify with that.
And look, the word for the day is abrasion. Okay?
Abrasion. That's what it's called. That's what, now I know.
That is what 5 years of high school will do.
That's what it'll do. Let me know if they find my diploma. Keep me posted.
We'll be on the lookout for that too. Unless you have some closing words, we are going to get out of here, Joseph. Thank you.
Thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate this so much.
All right, you guys, #Justice for Betty. Check out all of the links. Thank you all so much. Thank you to all of my moderators. Nyla, I see you dropping those links. Thank you so much. And thank you for directing your audience here when we were not ready, and for having your husband to still direct his audience here when we were finally ready. And it just so happened that worked out. I thank each and every one of you for being here, for participating in the chat, for leaving comments. Like this stream, you guys. Share this stream. Send it out. Get the word out. #Justice for Betty. That's right, Sunshine. Thank you all so much. I'm going to leave you with the music, and I will see y'all. I might come back a little bit later tonight. I won't promise, but go check out my video about the NAACP dressing up as a KKK. I dropped that earlier today. All right. Holler, y'all. Have a good one. You want to say bye, Joseph?
Thank you, guys. See you soon.